The first topic that we covered was government incentives. So I am based in Melbourne, Australia, and currently for the topic that we covered was first home guarantee schemes. So with this particular guarantee scheme, it allows buyers, single applicants if you're an Australian citizen or a permanent resident living here in Australia, to enter the property market with a 5% deposit subject to your borrowing capacity. If you're a single person and you are eligible for it, so long as your last financial year notice of assessment ending 30th of June 2023 did not exceed as a single person more than $125,000 gross income, then you can have a look at entering and using that particular scheme. If you are entering the property market as a couple, whether you're de facto or you're married, you can have a look at that particular scheme if your notice of assessments for the income did not exceed more than $200,000 last financial year. So if that is not an option for you, the other option that you can explore is if you've got a family guarantee available. That can also expedite your entry into the property market. Thanks everyone who's joining in. Hopefully all having an amazing was budgeting. So for post-settlement, the big tip that I give my clients when we're going through a mortgage application is that your sign-up interest rates, maybe at this point in time, we're in February 2024, it's not unheard of to have a mortgage repayment sitting at 6.5% for principal and interest, owner-occupier, depending on where level you're at and what's going on your credit file. It may be slightly higher as well, but for argument's sake, we'll go 6.5%. If you're having a look at what is going on with the Reserve Bank, in the last 18 months, you would have seen that the interest rates for the cash rate, official cash rate, was sitting at 0.1% for quite a long period of time. Now, fast forward to February 2024, we are sitting at 4.35%. So in the space of about 2 years, the cash rate went up 4.25%. So if you are a mortgage holder and you have taken on liabilities and thinking that your mortgage repayments are going to remain the same throughout the life of the loan facility, generally speaking, you have, say, anything between 30 years. Some lenders are coming into the market with 40-year terms for first home buyers because they understand that the borrowing capacities are a little bit compromised and the cost of living is going up quite rapidly. It's just to give clients that entry into the property market without having to be placed into a financial hardship post-settlement taking place. The other thing that I wanted to cover that is a really important thing when you're a first home buyer or any other walks of life trying to enter the property market is making sure that you do your due diligence and complete an inspection for a property. So when you find a property that you really like and you've got that particular item that you're thinking, yep, this is the one, and you've got your pre-approvals, you've got your ducks in a row, you need to make sure that you do a due diligence, whether it's doing a building and pest inspection to make sure that the property is not going to be falling apart and you don't have to have major renovations, because it can be quite expensive exercise after you settle. And it's best to educate yourself and understand that that particular property is not going to cause you major issues after you settle. The other thing that I wanted to point out was the negotiations and making offers. So when you're going through a property, you need to make sure that you are either, if it's a private sale here in Victoria, we say that it can be subject to finance, subject to a building and pest inspection, subject to whatever terms and conditions you want to have in there. If it is a private sale, this is okay. So generally you need to stipulate what your terms and conditions are. The big difference is that if you are purchasing at an auction, you cannot purchase here in Victoria subject to any terms and conditions, because unfortunately once you sell that particular Once you're the highest bidder and the hammer comes down and the auctioneer says it is sold, you need to come up with the goods. And if you haven't done your due diligence prior to, that is basically you've signed a contract and you're locked in. So you really do need to understand the process between purchasing at an auction versus private sale, because that can sting you out, and you might be stuck in a contract by accident for not knowing something that you should have done your due diligence beforehand. Engage a conveyancer or engage a solicitor to give you a clear understanding of where your ins and outs are for when you're signing contracts of sale. The other topic that I wanted to cover today was with the conveyancers and legal representatives, how they tie in together when you're purchasing a property. Basically, with the conveyancers, they and property law lawyers, if that's the way that you're inclined to go and get representation for your purchase, is they will then help you review the contract of sale just to make sure that there's nothing untoward before you sign. And then they will also help you coordinate the transfer from the seller into your personal names. And generally speaking, here in Victoria, we've got, say, about $1,500 for that particular fee. If you get it cheaper, it's great, but just allow for that kind of budget. Because I did a bit of a survey a few weeks ago, and on the survey I asked, what's the main things that you would forget to allocate costs for? And the big one was people forget to allocate funds for stamp duty. People forgot fees for transfer of land costs. People forgot conveyancer fees and adjustments. So that is council rates, water park charges, bank check fees. These are fees that could creep up, and it may find that you don't have sufficient funds to settle, so don't get caught out. And the other thing that you need to be mindful of is the moving costs. So if you are already living in a home and you need to engage a removalist truck, again, you need to allow for those budgets, because the last thing is that you've purchased your house, you've absolutely wiped out your bank account, you've gone to zero, and all of a sudden you need to book a removalist cost, and we don't have those costs available to us. So you'd be scrambling for money last minute, and it's not a very nice experience. So if you're in that phase of potentially purchasing or even thinking of purchasing something in the near future, don't forget to allow for removalist costs. The other thing is do a checklist to make sure that when you have to move, you are going to be notifying all of the service providers, utility bills, your mobile phone, your doctors, family and friends that you're actually moving, your driver's license as well. Here is Vic Roads. Australia-wide, you've got different service providers of where you're keeping your license records, but just make sure that you notify all the relevant authorities of where you are moving. So I'll just have a look on here who is in the chat.